G'day and welcome to the shed. I've just picked up this little thing. I probably paid way too much for it, but I was looking for something a bit different, and this looks kind of interesting. I'm not really sure what I bought just yet. It says LOTUS Radio, and I haven't been able to find out a whole lot about them, but it does look quite old. It's got a little bit of wear and tear, but overall the case is in pretty good condition. The only thing I could find out online was they were made by LOTUS Radio. It says LOTUS Radio, Garnet, Whiteley and Company, Liverpool. And I did manage to find a schematic of a LOTUS Radio from about, I think, the 1930s, which is what I guess this is. But whether it's the same one or not, I can't find a model number. But it's a cute little thing. It's quite small. As you can see, it's not much bigger than a signal generator here. And yeah, well, let's just turn it around and have a look at the back. It comes with a rat nest of wires. Now, it has this 240 volt, well, electric light socket adapter. That doesn't look as if it's been used in years. I don't know a lot about this radio. I have very little idea of what I bought. The cord, that's unusually thin. I'd say it has only 2 wires in it, but it's in good condition. It's pliable, it's not falling apart. Even the Bakelite plug is in really nice condition. It has this rat nest, which I guess is the aerial. That's copper wire, multi-strand copper wire, and cloth covered. That's unusual. It would be a pity to throw that away. I might see if I can preserve that. It will unfortunately have to lose its original plug. It also has, it's only got 2 knobs on the front and it has this knob on the back. I don't know what that is. It doesn't turn. Yeah, I can see valves in the back there. As far as I know, it's complete. It looks like it hasn't been touched in years, if it's ever been touched. Anyway, I can't hold off any longer. Let's get the back off and have a look. That turns easily. I must say everything's a nice fit here. It looks nicely made. That aerial wire's just hanging out the vent holes there though. I'm not sure if it was originally like that. It has no external connections for an aerial. And looks like there's a 3rd screw up here. No sign of a model number. Oh, I don't suppose there's anything underneath. I could have a look. Nope, nothing. A couple of screws which probably hold the chassis in. Okay, well, it's a little bit tight. I don't want to break anything. There we go. That just lifts off. And that aerial wire. Ooh, what do we got here? Okay, well, let's see what we've got here. We've got 4 valves across the back here. Surprisingly, not too much dust and muck in there. No major infestations of rats or anything. 4 valves across the back. We've got a Mullard CY1. This one says 1078K7, but I'm not sure if that's a valve number or not. This one, Trojan 1328, sorry, not Trojan, Triotron, made in Australia, S1328. And the fourth valve, the name is facing away from us, so I can't see what that is. Nothing on the chassis, no model number visible. Oh, you can't quite see that, but I can just see an old paper cap hanging out the side of the chassis up here. What I'm not seeing is a transformer, and there's this big drop-in resistor here, so I'm thinking that this is the mains goes directly into that. Whether it's a live chassis set, I don't imagine it would be, because it's got this knob sticking out the back of it attached to the chassis. So hopefully the mains is isolated from the chassis. Also, this thing, of course, is non-polarized, so yeah, you really wouldn't want to have a live chassis set with one of them on it, I don't think. Anyway, yeah, curiouser and curiouser. I'm not seeing any IF cans anywhere in there. There's a big aerial coil here. I guess that's an aerial coil. The aerial goes up to this tag strip, which is attached to it through that coil, whatever it is. I don't even know what it is. To the aerial coil here. And there's a 2-gang tuning capacitor there. But I don't know if that means... Yeah, I guess it must be a TRF set unless the IF coils are underneath. I don't know. I've never worked on anything this old before. It's all foreign to me. The speaker looks like it's got a field coil on it. I have no idea what I'm looking at. The speaker, from what I can see, looks intact. I might just try and take that tube out. Let's just have a look at these valves. They're the old side contact type valves, and I don't know if there's any trick to taking them out. I guess not, apart from just be careful, I suppose. I'll try and prise this off gently though, without... Oh no, that comes off all right. Just not putting any strain on the cap. Now let's just wriggle him gently. He moves. Oh, the whole chassis moves. Okay. I don't know if I can grab this, but you can't put a screwdriver under them and lift them out as I normally would. Just gently try to move it up. Here it comes. Okay. And turning it around. Triotron S1323. And this one is an S1328. Triotron, foreign. And this one says made in Australia. That's odd. Very dusty, but it appears intact. And that odd base. Okay, I'll put him back in his socket. I guess they only go in one way, and it was facing that way, wasn't it? So something doesn't feel right. That feels right, so yeah, it does. And it kind of snaps in. That's interesting. And this one here, I might also see if I can remove it and see what type it is. Just try Gently prising that off. Come on. Just a little bit more. There we go. Now, they come out with a pop, you'd have to be careful. So what is this? A Mullard CL4 Pentone, Pentone, trademark. So we have a Mullard CL4, writing this down, and this one here we know is a Mullard CY1. So that's the valve lineup: Mullard CY1, Mullard CL4, a Triotron S1328 and a Triotron S1323, none of which I've ever heard of. Well, it's a nice day outside. It's a bit warm in the shed, so I set up on the back table again, and I thought I'd have a look at what I need to do to take the chassis out. Get some tools out. So I'll just turn him around and take the back panel off again. Oh, I think I just put them in finger tight. Okay, and just take this back panel out again. I might just thread this aerial through it later, and I can take the back panel off. The back panel, incidentally, is plywood, very neatly cut, not the usual compressed fiberboard or whatever it is, masonite. Okay, so what do we need to do? I'll put a piece of cloth down and put it on the side. This case will need a bit of work, but it's pretty good. I don't want to do any damage to it, any further damage like scratching. Now that's odd. There's a screw there which appears to be missing, and one single screw here, and that's it. Let's have a look at the knobs first. I guess they've got grub screws. Yep. These knobs appear to be wooden. I'll just give you a closer look at them. They seem to be made of wood, turned on a lathe or something, presumably. They're certainly not Bakelite. Let's hope these grub screws move. Oh, that's coming off easily. Alright, I thought I'd bring this out in the direct sunlight and have a closer look at it. And on the back it says made in Canada. Okay, so that's the knobs off. I'm hoping that the whole mechanism will come out as one piece. I'll tip it on its side again, and we have this one screw in the corner here, and the chassis is leaning a little bit, so I'll just undo this. I guess there would have been another similar screw there, so I'll have to see if I can find one. Okay. Let's just slide him out. Does seem to be Well, there it is, very dirty. We've got a field coil speaker here and a very small output transformer on the side of it. Interestingly, there doesn't seem to be any conventional basket on the cone. It's just there's a metal bracket goes from side to side, and the top and bottom are unsupported, and you can quite easily see where the voice coil goes into the field coil there, so I suppose that will need work. Okay, I brought the chassis out into direct sunlight so we can have a better look at it. Apart from being very dusty, all we've got is we've got this 2-gang capacitor here, 4 valves, looks like voltage divider network or something there. The cone appears to be intact. It's got a steel or metal, I think, spider thing in the middle. A couple of dial globes on the outside just near the speaker cone, which probably wouldn't do it much good. The dial seems to run directly off a string, off the tuning mechanism there. Yeah, okay, so I'll put it back on the bench and we'll have a look underneath. Okay, well, here's the underside of it. We've got a couple of smoothing caps there, I presume, and this electrolytic condenser, guaranteed for 12 months. It doesn't say from when, but I suspect it's no longer under warranty. The capacitors, I guess these are, it's not a brand I've seen before, Sator. A few dog bone resistors, another coil. That looks like it might have come adrift there. There's a screw hole around there. So someone's been inside this at some point, probably some time ago though. Now this knob out the back, I'd say that's maybe a band switch, and being British it's possibly medium wave, long wave. The dial appears to have 2 sets of numbers on it. I'll just turn it around and put it back up now. The dial appears to have 2 sets of numbers on it, and they could be medium and long wave, I suppose. I'm not too sure what else they'd be. I thought maybe at first they were meters and kilocycles, but I don't know. I think it's possibly medium and long wave. And the dial seems to have got a few dents around the outside here, so I think someone has been at it at some time. This set has a bizarre range of heater volts. Some are 13 volts, some are 23 I think, and 30. I'll have to check that again, but they're not the conventional ones, so these globes could be anything, and chances of replacing them if they're faulty is pretty slim. But thankfully the speaker does appear to be intact, so that's something. Gee, it really is a mess. Other signs of previous work on it are this cloth covered tape, and gee, I remember my dad using this in the 1960s. It was pretty much the standard electrical tape at the time. It's obviously stuck very well. This really needs a clean up. I'm a little bit reluctant to start pulling it to bits until I know a bit more about it, but I guess that's how I'll find out. Something else I noticed about this power plug, it's a light socket adapter. It has a 2-pin plug. That's come off now. I guess it might have been an earth connection. Doesn't have an earth. Anyway, it has a 2-pin plug behind it, which fits into that. beats me. I hope the thing runs on 240 volts. I don't even know that for sure. I'll have to see what I can find out. I've removed the speaker and the dial mechanism and the dial lamps, and there's nothing there that can't be fixed. It's pretty dirty and grotty, but that's all right. The dial lamps form part of the heater string, and they have continuity, and they're 6.2 volts anyway, so a modern one would probably go in there okay, but they're both working. The speaker is pretty sad. The cone is warped because the edges have let go. It has an adjustable spider in the centre. More importantly, it all seems to have continuity, so so long as we have continuity, we can deal with the deformed cone. It only has a very small tear there, but it'll be a case of clamping this down and lining it up again so that it doesn't scrape. So that's looking positive. All the aerial coil has continuity. The other coil underneath the chassis also seems to have continuity. It would be really nice to have a schematic, but I don't think I'm going to get one of those, so it'll be a case of trying to trace out circuits and work it out for myself. One thing I did notice is this little board next to the dropping resistor here, which I haven't checked yet, appears to have different plugs or sockets for different voltages. 200, 215 volts there, and 240, 250 on the bottom one, and it seems to be plugged into the centre one. I'm not sure whether that central thing is a resistor or just a plug or what. I'll have to investigate that, but it does appear that it works on 220 to 250 volts, so that's comforting. I don't have to worry too much about that. I'll just start by checking the continuity of this resistor here. Okay, so I've got my meter clipped to the bottom terminal, and the first one, hang on, I'm on 1k here. I'll try the 10 times range. That has, what's that, 500 ohms by the looks of it. That's on 50-ish. The second one measures about 900, and the top one appears to be open. I'll try it on a K again. Nothing. Not a sausage on that top one, so I'll check it to see if I can see if any wires have come off or anything can be done to get it to work. Otherwise, I might have to substitute an external resistor for that. I'll just click onto here and see if we've got anything there. No, nothing. Not a sausage. All right. Well, I'll have to have a look at that. Okay, looking at this big dropping resistor here, there's no continuity to the top here, but just moving along it, I'm picking up continuity all the way up until you get right to the top. In fact, I think if there is a broken wire, it must be underneath this top band here. I'm thinking I can probably carefully take this off. It's riveted through though, unfortunately. Maybe I can pick up a wire and attach it. Maybe I can remove this and reattach it. I'm not sure, but I'll have a go at it. Can't be too hard. While I was checking over the chassis and measuring things and trying to sort out what's what, I also found that these two bands here, which are tappings on the resistor, were also intermittent, and it was obvious why. They were very dirty and just not making contact, so I've taken them off and cleaned them. Also, the contact on this top one, which is just the end of the wire twisted onto this, was also intermittent, and that I presume was also because it was very dirty. I tried various things to make contact and succeeded in doing that, but it was a bit of a messy job, and I want to do a little bit better on this in this radio, so I'm going to undo my messy work here, take this off, reconnect the resistance wire to this band, and clean it up and put it back on again. So I've desoldered most of what I did. I didn't show that, I wasn't thinking at the time, but we're back to here, so I'm just going to remove these wires I put in, which now I have to be careful here because some of these are the resistance wires and some of them are the ones I put on. If I cut that resistance wire, I think I'm sunk, so by mistake, so I'm better off to probably actually pull the thing off. I'll put some tape around here so that the rest of the wires just don't go everywhere, and try and lift the link off, and that will make it clear which bit is the resistance wire. Okay, so I had to cut the resistance wire off in the end, but I managed to get it off and unravel the mess that was on there. It wasn't making proper contact anyway, so what I'm going to do with this now is pop it in rust converter, oxalic acid, and that cleans it up pretty well. And then I'll just re-terminate this wire, which I've managed to identify and tag. I've got tape around there holding everything in place, so hopefully it'll be all right. And if not, well, we'll find another solution, but I think we'll be right with it. And the only thing that needs to go onto that is this cap. While I've got this off, I may as well have a closer look at this capacitor. It appears to go only to one of these links, which is rather odd. One that's not used, which is rather strange. I can't see the logic in that, but I'll put it back the way it was. Okay, so I've got the copper ring out of the rust converter and given it a bit of a clean up, and I've got one turn of wire to play with here. I figured that we can probably lose one turn without any ill effects, or and I've got it on backwards now. There we go. It needs to go that way, and it's just a tightish fit on that. With a little bit of crimp with the pliers, it will hold onto that quite tightly. So now, following the way that the bottom piece is attached, I'll just put it there. I'll just wind it around here. And around the base several times, using up all the wire I've got. Around there. Again, it doesn't want to sit just in the right spot. The base has about 3 turns around here. Okay, now just get the pliers, grab the end of it. Then that gets pressed in such a way as to tighten the wire. I put a little bit of tape on the tip of these just so as not to damage the wire. And I'm just going to press it in like that. That should make good contact. that's the way the bottom one is attached. Now I can just turn this around until it's tight, and I'll just reach in there and crimp the copper band against the top, and that's good. That doesn't move anywhere. Good. So now I'll just check that we have continuity, but I'm fairly confident that we'll be right with it. The only thing I have to do is to attach this 0.1 UF capacitor back up to it, but I'm not going to use that one. This is, I presume, a paper capacitor, and I couldn't, it's a bit too small to stuff, so I've got this one, which is a 0.1 UF, which I have stuffed with a new capacitor. You can see the line down there where I've cut it. I couldn't get the inside out, but that will close up nicely once I've glued it up, and you'll never know the difference. Okay, here we are. So I've got the wire reattached, the new connectors in place, and the stuffed capacitor back in its position. So the continuity all checks out, and I don't seem to have lost any resistance in the process. So that's a good result, I think. So it'll be on to the next thing now. Not too sure what that is. I might have a go at the speaker. It's pretty terrible. I've been trying to trace the circuit out as far as I can anyway. Started with the power supply end, but it's not particularly easy to follow, basically because it's so packed. I might have to move some of those large capacitors to see where the wiring actually runs, although it's slowly getting there. I thought I may as well spend my time doing this. I don't want to replace the wiring in here with plastic covered wire just because it's so old. I'm not overly pedantic about these things, but I really don't want to spoil it. And so I've ordered some wire, but it will take some time to get here, as things always do in Perth. So meanwhile, I'll trace out the circuit as best I can. I'll do some work on the speaker and the dial, and by that time, hopefully my wire will have arrived. I thought I may as well start work on the speaker, and at first sight it doesn't look too bad, but when you look closely, the entire cone is warped, and it does scrape quite badly. Anyway, because of this adjustable spider in the middle, I should be able to realign it. And what I've decided to do is take the cone out because it's completely detached from the outside anyway. So to do that, I've worked out the approximate angle of the cone by using this tool to, I'll try it the other way, by using this tool to approximate the angle. And I think I've got approximately the correct angle set there. And I have this piece of stiff paper. Now this is pretty good quality paper. It's the sort of thing that unions send letters out to you in, so much heavier than your standard writing paper. Unions and politicians and people like that seem to use this stuff. And I have drawn some circles on that. I'm going to cut this out, cut a radius in it, and fold it to the angle of the cone, and I'm going to use that as a splint to try and form the cone back into its normal shape. I might have to wet it to do that and gently attach it to the stiff paper to get it to dry straight if I can. I don't know if this is going to work. It's a bit of a long shot, but this speaker really needs something done to it, and that's probably the best I can come up with. I haven't seen this anywhere. I'm kind of making this up as I go along, so fingers crossed. First thing I'll have to do though is to remove the voice coil braids from the output transformer here, and they're a bit hard to get to, but I should have no trouble desoldering them. I just don't need the solder to wick up the braids and make them go stiff, so I'll clamp them to stop any heat from travelling along them as well. I don't want heat transfer on them. So I'll do that, and then I should be able to lift the cone out. Okay, so I was able to undo those speaker braids using my artery clamps here. They do work rather well. I'm hoping I'll be able to use the same method to put them back in. Otherwise it looks rather difficult. So now I should be able to unscrew this central nut and lift the whole cone out. That's going to be interesting. I've never done this before, and I might completely wreck it, but I'm kind of hoping I won't. So I've taken the little nut out of the centre here. I don't have a nut driver to fit that I can put my hands on, so it's the pliers, I'm afraid. It's very loose. It will just come off like that. In fact, I'm not even sure it has a thread on it, I think. No, that doesn't have a thread on it. It just slips over the top. And there we go. So let's see what we can do with this. While I've got this out, I'll clean out around the voice coil and make sure there's no debris and stuff. This designer speaker has no provision to exclude dust from the voice coil or from the magnet, so there will be all manner of stuff in there, I would imagine. So I'll get that thoroughly cleaned out. What I did was I took the cone out of the basket and put it in a plate of water, just deep enough so that the surround would be in the water and not the rest of it. That seems to have worked. It did wick up into the cone slightly, but not enough to worry about. Then I clamped the wet cone down to the basket, upside down, to hopefully make it dry flat. So we'll see how successful that's been. I'll just take off all the clothes pegs and hopefully the thing will sit flat. I'll put this on top. It's just a piece of stiff paper with a small weight. It was a jar with some coins on top, just to hold the cone down. I don't know how successful that's been. So, oh dear, it does seem to have moved forward a bit. I don't know what I can do about that. I might have to put it in there and then wet the rim again and press it down. It's flat, but it's moved forward. I probably shouldn't have put this on top of it. But okay, so I'll think about this a bit more and work out how I'm going to deal with it. Okay, so this is what I've come up with. I've cut another one of these rings slightly larger than, this is the bigger one, slightly larger than the first two I made, and I'm going to put that around here. That will result in lifting the cone slightly if I put it underneath. That should hold it in approximately the right position. So I'm going to put this together, hold it together with tape, place the cone on top of it, the other one on top of that, folded to the right angle, and that should hopefully hold the cone in place while it dries. I'm going to wet the cone, put it on this, and hopefully we'll come up with something that works. Okay, so I've drawn a circle here on my bench top and marked the centre. This is the little former I've made up, my cone former. I'm going to just place that in the centre of the circle. This is so that I can line the cone up accurately once I've got it on. And I'm just going to take this down to the bench top, like so it doesn't move around. That won't go anywhere. And the idea is that I can see that little X as I place the cone over the top of it, and I can line it up so that it's central on its former. Then I'll just tape the edges of the cone around that until it's dry, with this on top. So, the moment of truth. I suppose I've got nothing to lose. It doesn't work now, but I haven't got any any other options. So I've got some clean water with a little bit of detergent in it, and I'm just going to paint the cone around the edges. It soaks through fairly quickly, so I don't want to put much more on. Okay, so now you can see that's just soaking through to the back a little bit there. I might just put a little bit more on. Don't want too much. Oops, that might have been too much. Anyway, so now I'll place this over so that I can see the X in the centre of that diaphragm there, of the voice coil. I'll just get some tape and tape it down. Is that centred? Yeah. And that is pushing the cone back up, I can see it. So that's promising, I guess. Anything near enough to work will do me. It doesn't have to be pretty. Now there's a spot here where the cone is too high, here and here as well. And I'm thinking that this second disc will take care of that. So I'll just feed that through under the voice coil wires and gently press that down. Seems to be doing the job. And I'll put my little weighted jar. This is only plastic, by the way. It's not a glass jar. That will be way too heavy. Just enough to put some pressure on it to hold it in place. Now, it's a hot day again. The temperature in the shed's getting quite uncomfortable. It's 42 degrees, or I think 108 or something. All right, well, it's been about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So let's just see how this speaker cone's gone. It's still pretty hot in here, and it's had plenty of time to dry out. It feels dry to touch. So I'll take that off for a start. And I'll just lift off this paper piece here. And that looks, on the face of it, okay. I'll just take the tape off. And lift it off its little former. And yeah, that actually looks okay. I think that could work. I'll just patch up this little tear. The cone is very soft in that area. So I think a little bit of liquid electrical tape on that. And we should be in business. Okay, more nerve-wracking stuff. This is when I get to solder the voice coil leads back on, and it's going to be a little bit fiddly. I'll see if I can get that one, the first one in. Okay, that's in. And just rest it there. And hopefully I can get around the back of it with a soldering iron. I don't know how good a join that is. I'll just have to have a closer look at it. It looks okay. Looks okay from that end too. All right, the other one. Oh, bugger. Oh, no, I'll put them in the right place. I was worried there for a moment. See if I can feed that into the hole. That seems to be through. So if it'll just stay there while I solder it. Yep, that looks okay. I think that's done it. Okay, so now the fun begins. I need to line this coil up so it doesn't scrape. I didn't mark the end of it there, so that's the way around it goes. And if I'm lucky, yep, that moves without scraping. Gee, that's lucky. I will get some shims down through that spider just to hold it while I set it up. But it does look like it might possibly work. Okay, so time to glue it in. I think it's going to be a little bit too awkward to put shims in the voice coil while I glue the outside in. I'll just move it so that it doesn't scrape. But this one has an adjustable spider in the middle, and I'll put them in and then adjust the spider for the final adjustment. At least that's the theory. Gee, this is making a mess. Pretty sticky. Okay, so cotton bud. I'll start on this side, I guess, and okay, now I'll hold that off with this paddle pop stick, turn it around and do the other side. I think I've got that just around the edge of the cone without touching the diaphragm at all. I'll leave it there for a few minutes to to go off, and then we'll lower it in. I must remember to line up those holes too. I'll just put something through them. Okay, it's been a few minutes. This glue will have gone off by now, so I'll just manoeuvre these out. And lower that in. That screw's interfering with it. I'll just take it out. I only need one. It moves freely. Seems alright, well within a reasonable range. I'll have to adjust the spider of course, but it can be set from that position, so that'll do that. Now I'm going to press this cone in firmly around the edges. Well, there it is in. For better or worse, that's where it's staying. So it looks like that can work. Okay, so there are only 3 places you can put shims down here around the spider, but that should be good enough. And now this threadless nut goes on, hex head, which just fits neatly on the spider. Ooh. Okay, I hope that's all right. I'm just going to tighten it a fraction. And that moves freely. It doesn't scrape. Victory. So it's not a great looking speaker, but it's hopefully functional, which it certainly wasn't before. Part of the problem with this radio is it has the dial set in the centre of the speaker, and then behind that it has the dial lights, which are conventional dial lights, and they put quite a lot of heat onto the cone. I might see if I can find a way of deflecting that heat. I'm not really sure if I can do anything, but I'll give it a try. Now I've got the speaker done, I thought I may as well have a go at this dial mechanism. It's intact at least. It's free and it works. It sits in the speaker across like that. So that's facing outwards. So before I put the speaker in, I need to get this sorted out. The only thing with it, it's obviously been mangled around the edge there. Someone's been at it. And this rubber gasket around the outside looks as if it's perished and moved around a bit. So I'll see if I can find something else to put in there, give it a good clean up, and it'll be ready to go back in. Obviously it will need a new dial string, but that's a pretty simple arrangement, so that shouldn't present any difficulties. The first thing I guess is to get this glass out without breaking it, and so I'm very carefully bending back the metal edge. I'll tidy this up when I've finished. Can't have it looking like that in the radio. There we go. Not that it's seen, but I would always know it was there. Okay, maybe that will pop out now. There wasn't a lot holding it in. I'll see if that'll move. Try my green hooky tool. I don't know what it's called, but I've found it useful for many things. I'll see if that'll just gently lift out. Perhaps it's just still stuck on with the rubber. I don't know. I've finally got it out. The rubber gasket was sticking around the edge there and was not going to budge. I'll have to see if I can find something suitable to replace that with. I've probably got some rubber O-rings or gaskets or something. This isn't seen through the front except where it's shrunk, so it should be easy enough to find a replacement that works. And the rest of this, the printing on it is good. It doesn't seem to be soft or anything. So I'll just give that a clean, carefully preserving the letters on the front, of course. Okay, well, the dial's cleaned up pretty well. This is actually aluminium, and I've managed to straighten the edge of it out pretty well. For the gasket, I found this rubber, or I suppose it's neoprene or silicone ring. I'm not sure what it's off. It might have been for a seal of a jar lid or something like that. It doesn't quite fit in there, but I think I can probably cut it and join it at the top. I don't know if I need to glue it together, but I'll try a bit of super glue or something. And then I should be able to press the glass in on top of that. That will hold the, I guess this is celluloid dial back against the frame because it's kicking up there a little bit. And hopefully I can just turn the edge over enough to hold the glass in. I suppose it's best to have the join at the top. I don't know, it won't be seen. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So if I then put the glass on top of that. Well, this is where we're at so far. I've got the speaker fixed up and put back together. I don't have any way of testing it with music or anything, but it checks out for continuity, and the cone doesn't scrape, so it should work. I've got the dial cleaned up and put back together. I've cleaned up the chassis pretty much. It will need a final clean. I've given it a clean underneath as well, done all the valve sockets and pins, fixed up this resistor here, and spent quite a bit of time tracing out the circuit. I stopped that for a little while and did some mechanical work on it because I was suffering a bit from brain fade. I've also found another little problem with the volume pot here. The pot works beautifully. Unfortunately, the switch on the back of it for the power is beyond repair. In any case, that'll have to be addressed. I'll be looking for another similar switch arrangement. If not, I'll find a 10k pot with a switch on it and see if I can fit it inside this perhaps. I don't want to fit just a normal pot on that. It would look so wrong. The other thing is I'm waiting on some cloth covered wire. A lot of the wiring is disintegrating on this, and I don't want to put plastic coated wire on it. I'm a bit fussy that way, I suppose. I've cleaned up the cabinet, and that's looking Fairly promising. There's not a lot of work to be done on it, just this slight lift on this panel here, which I think I can glue and clamp up. It looks to me like the original finish on this. I'm not sure what these two marks are here. In any case, I will have to take this finish off because it's cracking very badly and I don't think it's salvageable. And at that point I'll look at colouring these up to match, or whatever I need to do to blend that in. The rest of the cabinet's remarkably good. The veneer's all there. It's not lifting anywhere. It's a solidly made little cabinet. So in any case, I'm going to have to leave this here. I'll call this the end of part 1 of this video, and obviously I'll continue on with it and do further updates as I go. So I hope you can join me in the shed for part 2 of this video. I'm not sure how many parts there'll be. There'll probably be a part 3 and maybe even a part 4. There's quite a lot to be done to this little radio. So thanks for watching, and I hope you can join me in the shed next time.